It's October 4th, 2020, the craziest year any of us have ever seen. This is what I've been wanting to do for a really long time, is just drive to the shore, Ocean Grove, one of my favorite places in the world, and just ask people what they think is going on with this coronavirus. If they want to say something about the election, that's fine too.
Coronavirus came from China. It came from the rats, their DNA, I don't know, because all the things that rats eat.
Okay. So this is what you heard? Or is it what you...
I heard it came from China.
Okay.
It came from China. I heard it came from the China rats. It started in China, from the China rats, and then they had to quarantine all the Chiners from getting out of their China, and then some got out. I mean, some had to have got out because that's how it spread.
So the rats got out of China?
The virus is an airborne spreader, so it must be in the air. It must be in the air somehow.
Oh, is there anything else you want to say?
Yeah, I wanted to say that it's sad that Trump and his wife got corona. It's sad that Donald Trump and his wife got corona.
Yeah.
It's sad that Trump and his wife got corona.
It is.
It's sad that Trump and his wife got corona.
Are you a Trumpster?
Yeah, I'm a Trumpster. Trumpster was a good president.
He was a good president? Or he is a good president?
Trump was a good president.
Okay. Is he still president?
Yes, he is.
Okay. Are you going to vote for Trump or Biden? Or neither?
I want to vote for Biden. I want to vote for Biden just to see a different face. But I don't like the fact that Biden wants to raise. I don't like the fact that Biden wants to raise taxes.
It's horrifying, and unnecessarily horrifying. I mean, if we'd had adequate leadership, I think we could have seen something more similar to what Europe experienced, where it was dealt with a lot quicker and they're moving back to more normal life. But it's just heartbreaking, the impact it's had on so many different families and people.
Where do you think it came from? Do you have an idea about that?
I think it came from a marketplace in China. It seems like the data on that is pretty clear.
Okay. Not the Wuhan lab or...
No, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, no.
Okay, so you just believe what makes sense, I guess.
Well, I don't... My basic view is, it's Occam's razor. If there's a simple explanation and a complicated explanation, I think I generally give preference to the simple explanation. Diseases transmitting from animals to humans in kind of a large marketplaces is a pretty common experience. It's the simple explanation. It's probably what happened to you.
Okay.
I'm no expert, but it seems much more likely. No, if we had leadership from the beginning, I had taken it seriously. I mean, the response of the administration was to blame China and to end travel from China, but in fact, Europe, by the time he was doing that, Europe was in the middle of the pandemic. Most of the infection came through JFK Airport, people coming from Europe. That's why New York and northern New Jersey were hit so brutally.
Mm-hmm.
And if we had adequate leadership that had addressed the issue right away with masks, contact tracing, investment in testing, I think a lot of lives would have been saved.
Well, I personally don't know where it came from. I've heard a number of different things. We've heard it came from a lab. We heard it came from China. So I mean, I'm going to lean towards Wuhan because that's just the first place we heard of a case of corona, you know? But I don't know, as a Christian, I feel like sickness just has no place in our lives. And so wherever it came from, doesn't matter as much as who is going to get rid of it. You know?
Okay, so you think God's going to get rid of it?
I think God will empower his people with wisdom on how to handle it, you know, and it's a tough time for us. It's a tough time. I mean, we've had plagues in the past, the Black Plague, what was the other one?
Spanish
Swine
flu.
flu, Spanish flu, all of those different things. And like we have, like, we're not hearing about it, you know? So I think we have the right infrastructure. We have enough knowledge, scientific and spiritual, on what to do, you know, to eradicate it.
Being believers, number one, we are not necessarily rogue. We do have our opinions concerning things. But as you asked the question in concerning masks, we are definitely respectful. Businesses, you know, asking for it, respecting people within their space. But knowing, you know, outdoors, we definitely don't have to necessarily wear it. We have been around each other for all weekend.
Right, so you know each other isn't sick.
Right,
So, yeah.
absolutely. But we do keep our 6 feet and things of that sort. So you were asking the question.
Mostly where you think it came from, yeah.
Where it came from. Out of nowhere. Look.
Right, that's a good answer.
I'm serious. Out of nowhere, because my opinion will be based off of the opinion of another. Right? Because we have heard, as my friend has said here, that we heard it was from a laboratory, okay, China, okay, here. And so I'm not necessarily going to jump on the bandwagon to say, well, my thought process, I just know that it's here. And me as a believer, now that it's here, you see people who have lost loved ones. You see, you know, it has affected, you know, the way that we live at this particular moment. So in order for it to go away, only God knows. That's where we place our trust, because if we don't know where something came from, how do we know where it's going to go or how it's going to go? What are we going to need to get rid of it? Again, one thing my dear friend here, you know, stated in regards to vaccines, you know, it's not that I'm opposed to vaccinations, but if you do the research, it takes almost 18 months to really come up with something, you know. And they're saying, okay, we're going to have one in another month, or we're going to have one next week. Well, who you tested on? Certain things of quote unquote true can be behind closed doors, but we only get a portion. You know, we get a piece. And so that's where many people form their opinions on that piece. And I'm not even into forming an opinion on a piece.
I think it probably came from a bat.
Came from a bat? Okay. Do you have any other opinions or ideas about it?
Like if it came from China, I guess it came from that continent, because that's where they first saw.
Have you considered, like, why, or was it done on purpose?
I don't think it was done on purpose. Even if they were studying it, it was an accident.
It was an accident. Okay.
You know? I don't think anybody would want to do that. I don't think it's warfare.
You don't think it's warfare?
No. It's the one thing that they say will keep you safe.
Is wearing a mask.
Yeah, I think we probably could open up in certain ways if we did wear a mask, and if everybody didn't think of it as an assault or rights. You go the speed limit, follow the red lights and the green lights. We wear seat belts. So to make it work, if we worked together and it wasn't a blame and it wasn't a this one or that one, or even, you know, the governors and all of that. I think so many people did come together to make it right and to try to make it a team and try to figure out answers, and they still are trying to figure out answers. It could have been better, but we're on the right track. Hopefully, if we keep staying on the right track, I think we'll get better.
I do believe it's genetically engineered. It has 100% similarity in the spike protein to SARS-CoV-1. And it was an pre-pandemic bat coronavirus was studied at Fort Detrick in 2017. Fort Detrick was also the source of anthrax. Okay, so it is a P4 laboratory that has been shut down at various points because of violations. So, it is a possibility that the viruses that were stolen from Boston University were transported from Fort Detrick. Also, there were games in Wuhan in October of 2019 where people got strange illnesses which were treated like malaria. There were lots of people from lots of countries, and they came and got sick. Now, military games and exercises and all of that stuff are partially exercises in bioterrorism. And it's very possible that these vaccines are bioterrorism, and not necessarily from China. It's not clear whether it's legal to study bioterrorism in the United States at this point. Also, it seems like everybody's out against the cheap drugs that work against coronavirus, and they're very much for expensive government contracts for vaccines and expensive medications. So what we're looking at is very greedy companies taking advantage or causing a situation of panic. And I can't help but wonder if this is a corporate takeover of the United States. Are companies going to own us instead of us? This is very sad. But this is a very real possibility. We have to take our power back. We have to take our control back by loving everybody, including our government.
You don't mean take our power back in like a Trumpian, everybody get a huge truck and plow through a bunch of protesters way.
No, you've got to love everybody. And when you love everybody, you have awesome power because you have the power of God. And that's what we really need to have. We need to have kindness towards ourselves and other people. We need to tolerate people. You got to love me even if I have craziness. I got to love you even if you have craziness. And all of us can be loving on each other. You know what I mean? Because that's what we're supposed to do. You know, there are papers written by actual researchers on pre-pandemic bad coronavirus from Fort Detrick. You know, and laboratories, you know, all around the United States. And they studied remdesivir at that time. So the fact is, expensive medications were in the queue before this thing started. And this just isn't right. You know, you've got to ask yourself this. If you take advantage of a situation, are you also behind it? So to me, it doesn't actually matter if China was behind it, because the U.S. is taking full advantage of their position and creating fear and mass hysteria, and they're creating anger, and they're allowing greed and fear to rule the day. This is not right.
Okay, so I didn't know what I was going to get there. Nothing too surprising. There were a couple guys who had interesting conspiracies, but they would not go on camera. I feel like God knows, and He knew ahead of time what was going to happen. And it's something that is, by and large, really reorganizing us in such a strange way. And it really did just come out of nowhere. I definitely have conspiracy theories, and they're in my blog, which I told you before is where's God in all of this? So I think one day we might know, but the most interesting thing to me is it's just a day of reckoning. As I've said from the beginning, it's a day of reckoning for everyone. As of right now, our president is in the hospital. They're saying that he might get out by tomorrow. There's also some other officials that are either in the hospital or just have COVID-19, and it seems that they're probably getting the best treatment that is available right now, so they may recover. There is a sense right now that we don't know for sure if our president's going to make it. There are people who have literally said on Facebook, I hope he dies. Where a lot of people are critiquing those people with good reason, I can see where people are saying that, you know, if he in fact is complicit in the death of over 212,000 people. Dear God, I pray that you will bless our president, bring him into the truth. That is my major prayer for that man, is to be about the truth. There is a man running down the highway, Highway 18. I have never seen that before. A guy running south on Highway 18. I saw that just now. I don't see a car or anything. If I was going to go for a run, I don't think Highway 18 would. But he could be on LSD. I don't know. The world's gone mad. You never know what you're going to see from one moment to the next. Lord, please be with us and bring us into the truth and reveal who you are, Lord, through the giftings of your people. In Jesus' name.
His fight against COVID-19. The president has been hospitalized since Friday. He was not expected to leave the hospital today, but came out because of the hundreds of supporters who had gathered outside, waving flags and honking to signal their support.
Dr. Brian Garibaldi on Mr. Trump's condition. The president yesterday evening completed his second dose of remdesivir. He's tolerated that infusion well. We've been monitoring for any potential side effects, and he has had none that we can tell. His liver and kidney function have remained normal. Joe Biden took a COVID-19 test on Sunday. His campaign says it came back once again negative.
New Jersey, as state health officials reach out to more than 206 people who attended Thursday's campaign fundraiser with President Trump at his golf course in Bedminster. Hours before he announced he has COVID-19. Every person who worked the event is being contacted, most of whom live in Somerset County. Those who attended the event should wait at least 5 to 7 days before getting tested for coronavirus, since it's possible to get a false negative in the early days of infection. A number of people in Trump's inner circle have tested positive for the virus since the president's own diagnosis, including former Governor Chris Christie, Councilor Kellyanne Conway, and campaign manager Bill Stepien, all three of whom are from New Jersey. Christie is currently hospitalized at Morristown Medical Center. Mayor de Blasio says he wants to shut down schools and non-essential businesses in 9 zip codes in Brooklyn and Queens that have seen consistently high infection rates. We get details from WCBS reporter Steve Burns.
They tried giving out masks. They tried more enforcement. It wasn't enough, says Mayor de Blasio.
That requires stronger action than we've had to take for many months.
That action involves rewinding, as the mayor puts it, closing schools and non-essential businesses in 9 zip codes spanning central and southern Brooklyn, along with Kew Gardens and Far Rockaway. It would start on Wednesday.
The important thing was to give people time to adjust, give our schools time to get ready.
Restaurants in those areas would go back to takeout and delivery only. Notably, houses of worship can stay open thanks to a court order.
Given that there are restrictions in place on occupancy,
de Blasio says the closures would last a minimum of 2 weeks. They can end if infection rates head back down.
If we contain this situation, we can stop this from spreading more deeply into New York City. We can stop this from being a quote-unquote second wave in New York City.
Steve Burns, WCBS News Radio 88.